The sheriff was standing on my deck the moment my HOA president finally lost it. And let me tell you, the look on his face said it all. She came barreling up my driveway, furious over a smart lock. Seriously. A smart lock so obsessed with control, she didn't even realize the county's top cop was quietly sipping coffee, witnessing every second of her meltdown. That wild little tantrum? It was just the appetizer. Nobody in Willow Grove could have predicted the conspiracy that lock would unravel, but looking back, the signs were everywhere. You think you know your neighbors? Buckle up. 3 months earlier, I'd moved to this seemingly storybook suburb, all pastel siding and picket fences, trading my chaotic city life for what I thought would be peace and quiet. I'm a software developer, always home these days, so my main concern was finding the best barbecue spot and getting my Wi-Fi to reach the garage, definitely not neighborhood drama. But little things started to bother me. My coffee mug would be moved, my mail mysteriously sorted, and I swear my TV volume kept resetting itself to some weird number, even though I only ever left it at 25 or 30. You know that unsettling sense when your space feels off, but you can't quite explain it? That was me, every single day. So, I did the logical thing. Spent $200 on a smart lock with all the tracking bells and whistles. Marcus Hayes, the sheriff, 2 streets over, had helped me with a burglary report before, so when he heard about my gadget, he dropped by for a Saturday coffee and a live demo. I was just showing him how it logs every entry when we heard the sharp clack of designer flats. Here comes Erin Campbell, HOA president, striding up my drive like she owned the street, clutching her clipboard like it was the U.S. Constitution. Her "good morning" had the kind of sugar coating that leaves cavities. I see you're making modifications, Timothy. Did you run this by the HOA? Meanwhile, Marcus, in plain clothes, badge glinting beside his coffee, just raised an eyebrow and watched. I prepped for this. Actually, I showed her the exact section of the HOA rules, repealed the previous year, and even flashed the board minutes. I should have left it alone, but I was a little too proud of my research. That's when Erin's smile cracked, and the switch flipped. Suddenly, she's yelling, veins popping, about community standards, totally ignoring the law, the facts, and the guy with the badge. It got so heated, Marcus stood up, instantly back in cop mode. And then, just as quick, Erin spotted his badge, and bam, her whole demeanor changed. Nervous little laugh, voice all soft. Sheriff Hayes. Didn't see you there. Just discussing safety, you know how it is. Marcus set down his coffee, looked her dead in the eye, and said, I see that. Passionate discussion about safety. The sarcasm was thick enough to cut with a butter knife. Right then, Ashley Cooper arrived, towing her 8-year-old and an armload of juice-soaked papers, breathless from soccer practice. And suddenly the tension broke. Is everyone okay, Timothy? Sorry about whatever this is. She was the only person in that moment who felt real, apologizing as her kid upended his drink, and she dropped her phone. Ashley, a single mom, said she was a graphic designer and offered to help organize a neighborhood event if we ever needed it. But when I mentioned my smart lock, she started grilling Modio features, integration, security logs, questions way too detailed for someone who just did websites for nonprofits. She just smiled. I've had to learn about this stuff for clients. You'd be surprised. After Erin finally stormed off, Marcus pulled me aside and said, You're not the only one. I've had 8 complaints of harassment, threats, even sudden fines from the HOA in the last 3 months. This feels bigger. I agreed something was off about the whole show. Ashley's timing, her tech knowledge, the sudden uptick in neighbor drama, like we were all being watched. That afternoon, as clips of Erin's freakout went viral in our little Facebook group, neighbors started sharing their own story: strange inspections, fines for imaginary violations, anonymous threats. Even Rick Jenkins, the former HOA treasurer, turned up at my door. I kept copies, he whispered, handing me a USB, financials, emails, board recordings. She threatened me with audits if I talked, but today crossed a line. That night, I checked my smart lock logs. Sure enough, there were repeated, unauthorized entry attempts always between 2 and 4 in the morning. Not just at my place, either. Neighbors were reporting the same. What chilled me most was realizing these attempts lined up with what people called Mrs. Patterson's bad nights. She was our next-door neighbor, 78, recently widowed, and growing more confused by the week. The logs showed that whoever was trying my door was actually getting into hers. Suddenly, Ashley's helpfulness felt suspicious. She always showed up after something happened, always with advice, always eager to help Mrs. Patterson manage her meds, her paperwork, her stress. I noticed she'd be at Mrs. Patterson's 2 or 3 times a week, always in the evenings. Every time, the next day, Mrs. Patterson was worse. Rick's USB revealed even more payments from Campbell Holdings LLC, sketchy landscaping bills, emails discussing problematic residents. Cross-referencing those payments with my smart lock logs, I found a pattern. Whenever Ashley visited Mrs. Patterson, there'd be a spike in confusion, and Ashley would offer to help with her finances. The kicker? Ashley's own bank records showed regular deposits from the same company that paid Aaron. She was being paid for community consulting. It was all coming together. An HOA president with a control complex, a tech-savvy neighbor conveniently helping vulnerable residents, a series of unexplained fines and property sales, and an elderly woman being systematically manipulated out of her home. I set a trap, told Ashley that Mrs. Patterson had asked me to look at her accounts, and within the hour, Ashley showed up at Mrs. Patterson's door, cookies in hand, fishing for info. Marcus was already digging deeper. He discovered Ashley had massive gambling debts, was locked in a custody battle, and was being paid thousands by Campbell Holdings, the same company funneling money to Aaron. Her job? Infiltrate, gather info, and nudge vulnerable people towards selling when the time was right. During our next neighborhood meeting, I laid out what I'd found, and people were furious, especially when Ashley's payments matched every meeting, every accidental visit, every organizing effort. Ashley broke down, confessed through tears, admitted Aaron had recruited her through a support group, dangling money and threatening her with custody and IRS trouble if she didn't play along. She tried to claim she'd only wanted to help, but it was clear she was the inside woman, and Aaron's operation was much bigger than just Willow Grove. As the community reeled, Marcus pulled the final string. She had Ashley wear a wire. Aaron, believing she'd won, came right out and talked about closing on Mrs. Patterson's house, the fees, the whole twisted business. The police moved in before Aaron could frame Marcus for evidence tampering. Brought forged documents, even floor plans of his house, planning to plant incriminating files. She was arrested live, in front of half the neighborhood. Her final meltdown streamed online for everyone to see. The aftermath was brutal. Parents felt betrayed, elderly residents were furious, and Ashley lost custody of her son. But the investigation spread, revealing a network across multiple communities, all run by a fake consulting company targeting elderly and vulnerable homeowners. Mrs. Patterson got her savings back, her home secured, and became a fierce advocate for elder protection. Our HOA was rebuilt from the ground up, everything transparent, every leader checked, every meeting public. But if you think that was the end, you'd be wrong. Months later, a letter arrived from another town. Same story, another Ashley, another fake consultant, another network preying on trust. Makes you wonder, right? How many neighborhoods have their own smiling traitor, taking notes, waiting for the moment to strike? So, here's my question for you. Have you ever trusted someone who turned out to be working against you? Ever seen a helpful neighbor who just seemed to know a little too much? Drop your story in the comments. Let's talk about what real justice and real community should look like.